Hi, welcome back to the studio. I've been gone for a while, as you can tell, and a lot has been happening since I disappeared. First things first, I want to clarify that I am alright, considering the content of my last video I uploaded. Sorry. It was just a coincidence that it was my last video before everything went down. I wanted to take the time to say that if you could hit the subscribe button and the little bell to be notified of my next uploads, that would be super neat. And I love you. Also, I'm not moving away from gore entirely, but I don't have time to work on original pieces right now, so I'm going with whatever Safe for Work commission I'm working on to make new videos. I will continue the Demise series, just not yet. So hi, how y'all doing? It's been a while. I'm super busy and swamped with commissions right now, trying to stay afloat while living in a motel. Why am I living in a motel, I hear you ask? Well, because my husband and I are homeless. Again, it's fun to live in California where rent cannot be made, and even if I could, an apartment wouldn't accept my kind of work, most likely. So what happened? Well, before this, my husband and I were living with his father, whom I'll just call the Drama Factory, in a trailer in the middle of butt-fuck nowhere desert. See, the Drama Factory likes to blame all of his problems on anyone else in his general proximity, regardless of how nonsensical it was. Naturally, because we were the only ones who lived with him, all of the blame for everything that ever went wrong went on to us, even if it wasn't our responsibility or could possibly be our fault. One of these many problems he caused was an eviction because he didn't pay rent for a month. Not only that, but because he lied to us and the landlord about paying rent that month, she decided to go through with the eviction process. We started receiving a bunch of court papers with only the Drama Factory's name on them. That seemed a little fishy, but months went by and the Drama Factory never bothered to call the court and check the case number to verify that any of it was even real or official. So eventually, it all came to a boiling point and the police showed up to remove us from the property, enforcing the law that we had 15 days to come back and get our belongings out. The Drama Factory caused a scene with the police and was told over and over again that he had to go to court to try to get it overturned. So we went back in, grabbed our immediate belongings, and rain and thunder by a certain time that day and left for the nearby motel in the city a few miles down the road. The Drama Factory had borrowed $400 from a friend of his for the cost of the motel for a few nights, and our first day there was on a Thursday. This motel chain, which I won't be disclosing, charged more on weekends at this particular location, while the other location in that area was fully booked. The Drama Factory used some of the $400 to pay for Thursday night and Friday night, but made me pay for the rest of our 2-week stay for two reasons. One, he very much inconveniently gave back the $400 he borrowed after he got his government benefits on the first, which was unnecessary, considering his friend would have been willing to wait for it. Two, he straight up just didn't want to because of the price increase, and he knew that I would cover it instead because I didn't want to have the cat stay in the little 4-door car that my husband drives, so he knew he could fall back on that. So I was stuck paying for this $80 to over $100 room that was only that expensive because it was a 2-bed room that allowed him to smoke, even though he couldn't afford cigarettes at a certain point, and didn't give a fuck about my sensitivity to the smoke itself. After I was the one who started paying for the room, the Drama Factory conveniently started his bitchy complaints and began acting like his usual ungrateful self. He had actually said as a side comment to no one in particular, "Well, the bed hurts my back a little, but I guess it's better than sleeping on the sidewalk." See, the Drama Factory is one of the laziest people on Earth and likes to project that onto everyone else, like every other shitty behavior trait he has. So along with that, he naturally blamed me and my husband for the fact that we got kicked out, even though it was his responsibility to call the court to double check the situation and pay rent. Now, I would have covered rent that month if he didn't lie and say that it was already covered. In every single way possible, this is entirely his fault, and he refused to take responsibility for his actions, both for this circumstance and literally every other bad thing he's ever done. If we tried to get him to take responsibility, he'd throw it back at us and demand that we not only take responsibility for his mistake, but that we should be responsible to fix it, like literally everything else he needs to do. He wants us, more specifically me, to do it. Even if it's something as simple as making a phone call, he almost always wanted me to do it and gave some nonsensical excuse as to why he couldn't, usually spitting out half sentences and half explanations until I gave up or gave in. So all three of us are staying in this motel room that I'm paying for. That's important for this. And one of his other bitchy complaints was that the room was too small, when that simply wasn't true at all. The only reason it might have been too small is because he had a bunch of useless junk that he didn't need or use, but refused to part with. He had us take multiple trips back to the trailer for his stuff because the car was too small to fit it all in without it being weighed down too much, which he also complained about. Any money he had was spent on fast food, and sure, while it was for all of us, I would have much rather preferred that the money go towards the room, but no, because that was something he simply didn't want to pay for, so he didn't offer. On top of this, he never thanked me for taking over paying for the room, and if I dared to complain about him not helping out at all, he'd start bitching about how he covered rent and we didn't, even though he'd be paying rent somewhere else anyway if we weren't living with him. On top of it all, he would call his friends to beg them for free money while I'm working my ass off every day to earn my money for the room, and he would always claim that we're all working so hard, which made me want to scream half of the time. All he ever did was lay in his bed, shove chips in his face, cry over his friends not sending him money, and watch CNN, The View, and other soap operas on his phone. Anytime there was a situation he didn't want to be held accountable for, he'd lump me and my husband into it and claim we're all in this together whenever he fucked something up. The motel location we were at enforced their 2-week stay policy, which meant we were going to have to leave soon. The Drama Factory still had all of his shit that was too heavy, including a TV that was just as useless as most of his other things, and it was stressing my husband out because he didn't want to push the car too hard. It's a 2005 model, so it's a bit older, which is the main reason why he didn't want to push his luck. That and because it broke down one other time due to a faulty battery not too long before then. But did the Drama Factory care? No, of course not. He only cared about his own feelings and his own sensibilities. To him, the car worked. Therefore, we should have been able to weigh it down. Eventually, my husband and I had a long discussion in the stairwell of the building and decided ditching the Drama Factory was our only real option. He was dead weight at this point and gave us absolutely no help. If anything, he did the opposite of help. He was straight up a hindrance on our existence and my money. The last morning we were there, I booked another room in a motel out of town while my husband and I enjoyed some leftover pizza for breakfast, grabbed a trolley, and began loading up his car with our things. We didn't say anything noteworthy to the Drama Factory, knowing he would just start screaming and stomping his feet like a literal child if we told him we were switching motels and not taking him with us. One of the reasons why we left him is because on the 1st of the next month, being that all of this was happening in October, he would have a place to go with that same scummy landlord that kicked us out in the first place because she knew she could continue to get money from him. The Drama Factory didn't even realize what we were doing until we brought up his TV and other things he left behind in the car to the room and left him with the trolley so he could get his things out. He said, "Oh, okay, that's fine," in that typical bitchy way and muttered good luck to us as we grabbed our cats last. That was the last actual interaction we had with him after 2 years of torment. We got in the car, situated the cats, and got on the freeway, finally feeling free and relaxed to be off on our own again, and listened to the Dune CD I got my husband for Christmas last year. Cut to the present, the motel we're staying at is still a part of that same chain, but this location doesn't enforce the 2-week policy and is cheaper than the previous one, which was one of the only things I wanted out of this, to spend less money for a single bedroom. Sure enough, even though the Drama Factory was the one who said good luck to us, he texted me not even an hour after we left town, trying to guilt trip us into helping him some more. I said we already left town. Nothing more because I didn't want him to somehow find his way to us. He once again said that's cool, and said that he's still in the lobby of the other motel and will probably go to jail. I ignored his messages, and the next day he texted me again, saying there was no one able to give him a ride, because he can't ever get over his ego and just ask for help. Instead, he has to try to guilt trip people. I once again ignored his messages until finally he claimed to be in the hospital. But you see, the Drama Factory is a special type of special. He not only lives off of drama, but he tries his damnedest to create it whenever he can, especially by trying to get people to pine after his emotions, for the sake of giving him the satisfaction of attention. This situation was no different. He claimed he was in the hospital, and only said it was something serious, but wanted me to pull it out of him, instead of treating it like an actually serious situation. I still didn't respond. I showed the messages to my husband, and he agreed that I shouldn't give him the attention he clearly wants. The next day, the Drama Factory sent another text saying that he was recovering and was days away from death. He sent his room number and what hospital he was at because he was just expecting us to come see him. Still didn't say what was actually going on, so I continued to ignore it. The last message he sent was something he baited me with, knowing I'd probably respond to the idea of my husband getting a check because we need the money. It was already fishy from the start because the Drama Factory claimed it was an IRS check that he had possession of somehow. When I actually responded to it and asked for a pic, he sent me a picture of those flyers that get mailed out about potential benefits that we could receive, not an actual check. I told him that I suspected it wasn't a check and thanked him for wasting my time. And he, once again, said good luck, as if he didn't need it more. And I haven't gotten another message. Although, I'm expecting that to change again soon when he tries to guilt trip us further, but that has yet to be seen. Editor's note, I've gotten 2 more texts from him that I haven't responded to. One of them was something like about how he hopes that the cats have adjusted, probably to him not being around, like the narc that he is. And then I got another one saying, Merry Christmas, hope you two become great again. Because he thinks we're Trump supporters. I don't understand. But anyway. So what's it like living in a motel? Well, to put it bluntly, it's kind of like living in a studio apartment if your studio apartment didn't have a kitchen. And you had to pay for this lack of a kitchen every day. We do have a mini fridge and a microwave though, so we can make some things to eat for the time being. Mostly just ramen noodles and sandwiches, but I'm never going to complain about either of those 2 things. The room itself is actually rather spacious for just a normal king room, and it fits our amount of things comfortably. There's even a nice hemisphere table that I have my usual setup on. Thankfully, the walls aren't paper thin, so most of any noise coming from the neighboring rooms and our own is muffled quite a bit. The most noise that's heard comes from the main road because of sirens and whatnot, as well as the scariest sounding train I've ever heard that makes this high-pitched tone that sounds like strings right out of a good horror movie. It's a little unnerving, but we've gotten used to it over the past couple of weeks we've been here. We have a convenient ice machine in a locked room accessible with a room key, as well as a soda machine that has a decent selection. Our cats took a little longer to adjust to their surroundings, but because it's a single room and a bathroom, they got used to it relatively quickly. We have a little windowsill that they like to sit on and watch the street. The area we're in is kinda shady, but we feel secure in this motel because we're familiar with the chain, and it probably has some of the best security systems in place in the city. This thick air has been completely removed from our shoulders ever since we left the Drama Factory behind, and even our relationship is better off for it, because we're not getting on each other's nerves due to the stress he was putting us under. Now we can sleep at night as well, because the Drama Factory liked to have his phone on a very high brightness and loud volume all night, even when he was asleep. If we turned his screen off and he woke up, he'd turn it right back on and fall asleep again almost immediately. If we tried to talk to him about it, he'd get bitchy. But now that it's just me and my husband, we can actually get some sleep at night, as well as our much needed privacy. Hopefully we can get out of this soon, but for now we're managing to stay afloat. So yeah, that's about it. It's kind of hard keeping up with my workload, but I'm doing my best. If you want to help me out and subscribe, that would be pretty cool. It's free. Please like the video if you liked it and share it around, and I'll see you next time.